Hey y'all, this is David Ducker coming back at you, and today I'm going to be doing a session recap of Return of the Runefangs, Episode 8. I'll remind you right now that you can go on Facebook and look up Return of the Runefangs. It's a Facebook group. You can follow along with me in my descriptions and get all the NPC portraits so you know who I'm talking about, and all the area maps so you know where I'm talking about. You also have notes on the setting, links to the wiki for the setting, which is a Warhammer Fantasy setting, great setting. You can leave comments, chat with the cast on there, and of course that's got a video archive of all of this series as well. And I have, of course, a playlist right here on YouTube. But enough about that. Back to the action. So Return of the Runefangs, Episode 8. So when we last left our daring heroes, they had foiled an escape attempt of Sixtus Yerger and the Bridge Rats from the impenetrable Iron Tower prison. They had captured Lorenzia Edelstein, although they had cut her arm off during the melee. They'd also captured Sandro Mosch, who was the captain of the Scimitar, the man in black, the knife-fighting assassin. But they paralyzed him from the waist down when they captured him. So I don't know what we're going to do with Sandro now that he's been paralyzed, especially considering he was such a heavily athletics and agility-based character. To be paralyzed from the waist down is highly unfortunate for him. But that's the way the dice roll. I mean, unfortunately, we didn't understand the combat mechanic and the difference between maiming someone and wounding them and injuring them. So that's now been clarified to us. But Sandro is still paralyzed because we don't do any retcons up in this piece. So when we rejoin our heroes, Theodore, who is the one who disarmed Lorenzia, has actually claimed her as his prisoner. He's taking her to Berengar Manor. He doesn't want to store her in the Iron Tower, possibly because he can't afford to. He's just a poor member of the Most Noble Order of the Blazing Sun. He's a Templar, essentially. So he doesn't have a lot of cash at his disposal. So he takes Lorenzia back to Berengar Manor. Kamiya had headed back to her ship from the Iron Tower, La Guadalquivir, as she has called it. Now, Theodore and Kamiya, by the way, both have their portraits up, so you can know who I'm talking to, who I'm talking about when I'm talking to you. Again, that's on the Facebook group. So she had gone back to her ship, consult with her forces. Ulrich had also headed back to Berengar Manor along with Sir Blaine Charrington, as portrayed by Kevin. He's got a portrait as well, of course. So back at Berengar Manor, we had a role-playing scene with Blaine, Ulrich, Lord York Berengar, Bernard Berengar, and Theodore was there as well, Theodore Lyons. York and Bernard portraits, again, Facebook. So we had this scene where Owen Lewin, actually, I've forgotten Lewin. So Lewin was actually the prisoner of the Bridge Rats, and they were using him to withdraw Sixtus. Lorenzia was using him. And the party, in stopping this escape attempt, have rescued Lewin. So Lewin came back with them as well to Berengar Manor, thanking them for rescuing him and describing the conditions he was held in and how unsanitary they were to his standard, and how most importantly, they'd taken his magical axe, the Pious Maker, the family heirloom of House Berengar. This is a setting where magical items are extremely rare, and the fact that House Berengar had one kind of elevated it. And now that the thieves have stolen it, and it was aboard the Scimitar, which escaped, So Lewin is he's distraught over this. He's failed the family. He's let them down in a way that he never has before. He's a war hero. He's had some success in business, a lot of success artistically as he runs a theater company. So this is a man who's in his long life, he's about 50 years old. He's never known failure before, and it's really disheartened him. So he's in the scene. He's not saying too much. But the main meat of the scene was Sir Blaine, as played by Kevin, was talking about how he'd come from Stirland and how his local allies had abandoned him, withdrawn their armies from Leichberg, and how the vampire counts of Sylvania were pressing forward, and that he'd come for help from House Berengar, because Lewin had been rescued by Blaine's father. I believe his name is Ricelaw. I believe it's Ricelaw. How Lewin had once, long ago, during the War of the Wasteland, been rescued by Ricelaw. And he'd come to call in this debt and asked House Berengar to send their armies and help him, and help to defend the whole of the Empire against this vampire horde. Of course, you can check out all the maps on the Facebook group, so you'll know where I'm talking about. You can see Hornau, Leichberg, they're both in Stirland, and then you can see that Stirland is just north of, essentially north of Nuln, northeast. But this great role-playing scenes, he described, all of this horrible situation, and how he'd left his incompetent brother-in-law in charge while he was going away to renew this debt because it was so important. And of course, Ulrich has already committed to the crusade. He spoke with the Count of Stirland, who is Blaine's liege lord, Count Detlev. Check out his portrait on the Facebook group. And he'd already committed House Berengar to this crusade. So this is perfect for him. He can say, yes, we will support you. And it's only because of you that we're going on the crusade. So he's really, it's really binding the party together. As, Kevin playing Blaine Charrington, House Charrington, and Mike playing Ulrich Berengar of House Berengar, really pushing them together. I think they were even discussing potential marriage paths, that Ulrich would marry Blaine's daughter, but Ulrich is kind of trying to back out. He's trying to suggest maybe Bernard should marry Blaine's daughter, because Ulrich actually has aspirations towards the Count's daughter, towards Count Detlev's daughter, because Count Detlev has no male heir. So whoever marries his daughter becomes the count of the whole province, which is a big deal. So you had some great political wranglings, great role playing in this scene. Of course, Bernard brought up the fact again that we have to leave soon. I have to go to the wasteland to negotiate the ransom of our other prisoner, Carlos Hees. Ulrich, you promised to come with me. At least as far as the River Ster, so that you can head up to Wurtbad and talk to the Count Detlev's daughter and try to seduce his daughter. Again, check out the map, check out the character portraits for these characters, just so you're not confused. But Ulrich says, well, the Scimitar, the Thieves Guild, we destroyed their guild hall, we've captured their leader, and we paralyzed one of their high-ranking members, and of course Sixtus is still in prison, another high-ranking member. So actually, I'm going to pursue them up the River Aver, and I'm not going with you to the River Ster. I'm going to go up the River Aver to Averheim, and from there, once I've dealt with the Thieves Guild, then I'm going to ride north, and I'll reach Wurtbad in the same amount of time. And this way I'll be able to vanquish my enemies so they can't come back and get revenge on me. So I can really finish them off and not just leave them decapitated, like the Hydra, which could grow more heads. So Bernard is sulking about this, and Charles kind of whispers in his ear, as he always does. Sauvage Berengar, Charles's character, whispers in Bernard's ear about how this is actually an opportunity for him to show his independence, and how his brother, is doing him wrong, but he's going to succeed anyway. It'll make him look even better. So Charles got some great role playing in. Kevin, Mike, all great role playing. Lewin chirped in that he was going to accompany Bernard as far as Biberdorf, because his daughter, Ovina, is actually in a convent in the mountains near there. He's going to go visit his daughter. Now, he's failed the family. He's lost his magical axe. So he needs to go and see his daughter and pray and get things right inside of himself before he can embark on any further adventure. Just a note that Lewin was originally played by Rick, one of our players. Rick left the game under mysterious circumstances, mysterious to you, because I'm not at liberty to reveal them. But so at this point, Lewin has been taken over by me as a GM character, as an NPC. So just want to notate that for any of you paying attention at home, which in fact might be none of you. But great scenes during this session, and while this is going on, actually we cut back to Kamiya, and she on her ship was readying it for this expedition. She didn't know about the change in routes yet, but she was readying the ship. And then she headed off to the Golden Palace of Nuln, which was once the Imperial Palace before the capital was moved to Altdorf. So she heads off to the Golden Palace. I mean, looking at the map, which is available on Facebook, you can see how large the Golden Palace is. So it's an enormous structure. It's got gardens and grounds, and of course the building itself is, I think, the largest in terms of area, in terms of footprint, the largest building in the city. The Cathedral of Sigmar is taller, but it's not wider at the bottom. So she heads there. The guards escort her inside, as she is a noble, a foreign noble, but apparently distantly related to the Baron of Nuln, to Ewald Showalter. You can check out his portrait on the Facebook group as well. So she comes through, and as she's going in to speak to Baron Ewald, she hears this loud argument, yelling, and then storming out of the audience chamber is a Dane, a female knight, who's actually Marianne Showalter. Check out her portrait as well. She kind of storms by. She's in full armor. She's got her sword on. She's red in the face and just kind of sneering and muttering at her mouth, muttering under her voice, under her breath. So, Kamiya was very politely got out of her way before she pushed her down. But then Kamiya went in, and it was a really, really great scene. The whole palace description, very good. The tapestries told the history of Nuln, which is great. I love incorporating history into the game. And the throne room itself, somewhat similar to the throne room at Persepolis, for those of you who are history buffs. Just this huge empty space filled with pillars, and right in the middle there's a skylight, and there's a beam of light coming down from it onto this throne. There's this tiny crumpled figure in the throne, though. Ewald Showalter, he's like 90, and he's feeble and old. He's the complete opposite of all this grandeur that surrounds him. So Kamiya talked to Ewald, and they had a really, really great role-playing scene. They went through, actually, they were walking through the palace to the library, and essentially Kamiya was requesting some spots in the upcoming spring tournament for the knights on her ship. And Ewald granted this eventually, but he rambled about the problems he's having with his children, though, and and about their distant relations. His sister actually was Kamiya's like great grandmother or something like that. But he remembers her from when he was young, and Kamiya only knows this person from when that person was very old, and Kamiya was very young. And of course, Ewald is ancient; he's 90 years old, so it really showed off the age discrepancy, which was great. And he's a very melancholy kind of figure with all the problems he's been having in his family, and it really came across well, as he had some depth of character to him, which was great. But eventually she finished up her scene. She went back to House Berengar, and they informed her of the change in travel routes. And while she was talking to Savage and the others about the new route and planning the logistics, and also about assembling the army, Ulrich and Theodore went down into the dungeon. Not much of a dungeon; it's more like a dusty part of the cellar. But they had chained up Lorenzia down there, or they'd left Buck Salder to chain her up actually, and because it's got two manacles coming out of the wall on chains, but she's only got one arm, so he chained her up by the feet, so she's like upside down. Which just goes to show how much Buck Salder gives a fuck. Not one fuck was given by Buck Salder that day, nor any other day. But they interrogated her. Of course, Ulrich is, the bad cop. He's very intimidating. He keeps crushing people's heads with maces, and this is a well-known part of his reputation. So he's very intimidating. Theodore is trying to play the good cop, and they can't. They got certain things out of her, but they had a hard time getting her to talk. She tried everything. She tried begging. She tried swearing. She tried crying. She just went through the gamut of different techniques to get them to release her or not torture her or have mercy on her or whatever. She tried everything in her playbook, and eventually the well ran dry. She had nothing else to try. I think Theodore doused her with water a couple times. He just splashed her in the face with water. Ulrich went to go get some hot pokers, and that's what finally broke her when they said they were going to start torturing her with hot iron. She finally relented, and while Ulrich was away, she revealed to him the real reason why the Thieves Guild had commissioned the Mercenary Guild to assassinate him, and sent their own assassins after him as well. So she revealed the true reason that everyone seems to want him dead, that he doesn't even know about. We did this, me and James did this scene separate, so his character knows and he knows. Nobody else knows this secret about Theodore, though. And of course, Theodore and Lorenzia, their portraits are up on the Facebook group as well. Ulrich came back. He's got the hot poker. He's all excited to get going with his hot poker. And Theodore's like, no, that's okay. And Ulrich's like, oh, but I wanted the, oh. But Theodore had promised not to torture or kill Lorenzia as part of the requirements for her revealing the secret to him. So then we came through essentially the next day. So they all bedded down for the night. The next day, a breakfast scene. Everyone's getting ready. They're all pumped up. They're just going to eat before they go. Not a very in-depth role-playing scene. But then we got this great parade of House Berengar, and they're all wearing their livery and their surcoats and flying their pinions and banners, and they're accompanied by all their men at arms. They're up on their horses, and they're parading through the streets, through the Neustadt district, through the Altastadt district, right down to Vollstadt, because that's where their shipping company is located. Check out the map on the Facebook group if you want to know what I'm talking about. But they paraded down to the docks where both their ships were arrayed. Kamiya's ship, Le Guadalquivir, of course the Stallion-style ship, and also Bernard was taking the Malice, the sole remaining warship of House Berengar. So it was appointed in imperial style, this war galley. And they found, actually, as they were approaching, they found a envoy, a procession from Stirland, from the Count of Stirland. And the Count himself, Count Detlev, was there to see them off, along with, of course, his personal bodyguard, whose name escapes me. But check out the Facebook group. You got Count Detlev's portrait, and the folder it's in has all of his retinue in there. So you can easily find that information for yourself, since he wasn't a major character in this scene, but he was there. So he saw them off. He had another scene with Ulrich saying, good luck with my daughter. You would be a worthy son-in-law. I hope that our two houses can join, and I hope that soon we will ride out into battle in the Crusades together. And of course, Blaine is there, and he's like, yes, the Crusade. And so all these Stirlanders are all fired up for the Crusade, and Ulrich is all fired up for those daughters. Yeah. Bernard and Lewin, they're setting off in the Malice, so they had some parting words. Actually Lewin had a really good role-playing scene with Ulrich. He said, I've failed the family. You need to take up my mantle, as you are my protege. I've trained you for your whole life for this moment. I've lost our axe, and you need to go and take it up and, pick up the gauntlet that I've laid down. So they actually had a really good scene there. Charles, who's playing Sauvage, revealed that he's actually staying in Nuln. He's not going with anyone. His legs are still horribly burned. So he actually said goodbye to the rest of the party and wished them luck, and he promised some assistance on his part. Even though he couldn't be there, it didn't mean that he couldn't help them. So he was very cryptic and mysterious about it, as Sauvages want to do. Excellent character. So big saluting scene, and the ships pull off, and there's Lord York and Count Detlev on the shore, watching, with Sauvage, of course, watching them pull away in opposite directions, with Le Guadalquivir heading east up the river Aver, and the Malice heading west down the river Reich eventually. So that was a great way to end off this session. It was a very strong session in terms of role playing, and that's about it for episode 8. So I'm going to be coming back to you with episode 9 very, very shortly.